27, 1981, a mosque in Tehran. A cleric stands on stage. A man approaches disguised as a journalist, places a tape recorder in front of him. But that recorder, it was a bomb, explosion, blood, screams, chaos. The cleric survives, but his right arm is paralyzed forever, his voice forever softened. Yet this is the same man who, just 8 years later, becomes the supreme leader of Iran. Who was this figure? How did a boy from a poor family, enduring prisons and near death, rise to become the most powerful man in the country? This is the story of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, from poverty to supreme power. Today, we uncover the secrets of his life, secrets you've never heard before. Stick around till the end, because this is only the beginning.
Let us now turn our attention to the marriage and personal life of Ali Khamenei, a part of his story that reflects the quiet strength, simplicity, and shared commitment that have always been central to his family. In 1964, after returning to Mashhad from his studies in Qom, Ali Khamenei married Mansoureh Khojasteh Bagherzadeh. This was his only marriage, and it has remained a private and stable union throughout his life. Mansoureh came from a modest family and shared the same values of faith, humility, and dedication to religious principles that guided Khamenei. Very little is publicly known about Mansoureh, as the family has always kept personal matters away from public view. There are no photographs of her released, and she has rarely spoken in the media. In one rare interview, she described how, from the earliest days of their marriage, they discussed the possibility of his arrest by the Shah's authorities. She accepted this risk willingly and saw her role as providing a calm and steady home so that her husband could continue his religious and activist work without worry. This quiet support became especially important during the many times Khamenei was detained in the 1960s and 1970s. The couple had 6 children, 4 sons, Mostafa, Mojtaba, Masoud, and Meysam, and 2 daughters, Hoda and Boshra. The family raised their children in the same modest style Khamenei had known in his own childhood. Their home in Mashhad was simple, with basic furnishings and a focus on education, prayer, and moral values, rather than material things. The children grew up helping at home, attending religious lessons, and learning responsibility early. Khamenei has always emphasized that family life should be grounded in faith, kindness, and discipline. Even after the revolution and his rise to high positions, the family continued to live without extravagance. Mansoureh managed the household during Khamenei's frequent absences due to arrests, travels for lectures, or later duties in Tehran. She ensured the children received a good upbringing, balancing religious teaching with care for their emotional and practical needs. The family prayed together, read together, and maintained close ties. Khamenei has spoken with gratitude about his wife's patience and strength, saying she was a true partner in his mission. In the years of opposition to the Shah, personal life was often overshadowed by risk and uncertainty. Arrests meant sudden separations, and the family lived with the knowledge that Savak might come at any time. Yet Mansoureh remained steadfast, viewing her support as part of a larger purpose, preserving the home so that her husband could focus on his religious and activist duties. This mutual understanding and shared faith helped the family endure difficult periods. After the 1979 revolution, Khamenei's responsibilities grew, first in parliament, then as Friday prayer leader in Tehran, and later as president and supreme leader. The family moved to Tehran, but they kept their life simple. They avoided luxury, and the children were raised with the same values of modesty and service. Some of the children pursued religious paths, while others stayed more private. Throughout his long public life, Khamenei has kept his personal world shielded from the public eye. Mansoureh and the children have remained out of the spotlight, living quietly and supporting him from behind the scenes. This privacy reflects the clerical tradition of humility and the family's belief that true strength lies in faith and character, not in outward display. In the next sections, we will see how this stable personal foundation supported Khamenei's increasing role in the revolution and the early Islamic Republic. Please stay with us. The story of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, from a devoted family man in Mashhad to leader of Iran, continues with quiet strength and shared commitment.
Let us now turn our attention to Ali Khamenei's role in the Iranian Revolution of 1978 to 1979, a pivotal time when his years of quiet opposition and religious conviction placed him among the trusted figures who helped guide the transition from monarchy to Islamic Republic. By the late 1970s, Iran was in deep unrest. Economic difficulties, inequality despite oil wealth, widespread corruption, and the Shah's heavy-handed security measures had fueled growing discontent across society. Workers, students, merchants, and religious communities alike. Mass protests began in 1978, sparked by events like the Cinema Rex in Abadan and escalating clashes with security forces. Khamenei, then in his late 30s, remained in Iran throughout this period. While Ayatollah Khamenei directed the movement from exile in Iraq and later France, Khamenei worked from within the country. He helped distribute Khomeiни's messages, cassette tapes smuggled into mosques, handwritten statements copied and passed hand to hand, and instructions relayed through trusted networks of clerics and students. In Mashhad and other cities, he gave sermons and lectures encouraging peaceful resistance, unity among Muslims, and reliance on faith during hardship. He emphasized that true change should come through moral strength, justice, and adherence to Islamic principles rather than violence or foreign interference. As protests swelled in late 1978, Khamenei became more involved in coordination. He joined small gatherings of opposition clerics and activists, helping organize support for strikers, providing religious guidance to demonstrators, and preparing communities for the possibility of major change. His work was discreet but steady, avoiding direct confrontation with security forces while keeping the message of reform alive through mosques and religious circles. He also maintained contact with other key figures in the clerical opposition, reinforcing the call for an Islamic government based on the ideas Khomeini had long advocated. When the Shah left Iran on January 16, 1979, the old regime collapsed quickly. Khomeini returned triumphantly on February 1st, greeted by millions at Mehrabad airport. In the 10 days that followed, what remained of the monarchy's institutions fell apart. On February 11th, the revolution was declared victorious. Khamenei, having stayed in Iran through the final turbulent months, emerged as a respected participant in the new order. In the immediate aftermath, Khamenei was appointed to the Islamic Revolutionary Council, a 13-member body formed secretly to oversee the transition. This council worked quietly to manage the shift from the old government to the new Islamic Republic. Khamenei's inclusion surprised some, but it reflected trust earned through years of consistent support for Khomeini and his vision. He helped draft early policies, organize religious and administrative structures, and ensure the revolution's goals were rooted in Islamic values. Khamenei also played a role in establishing the Islamic Republican Party, which became the main political organization in the early years of the Republic. He contributed to efforts to purge the military and security forces of officers loyal to the Shah, replacing them with those committed to the new system. His experience as a cleric and organizer made him valuable in bridging religious ideals with practical governance. Throughout this period, Khamenei remained modest and focused. He continued living simply with his family, emphasizing that the revolution was about justice, independence, and faith, not personal gain. His role was not one of public leadership in the streets, but of steady support behind the scenes, teaching, coordinating, and helping build the foundations of the new state. In the next sections, we will see how this involvement in the revolution led to his rapid rise in the early Islamic Republic, including the dramatic events that shaped his path forward. Please stay with us. Ali Khamenei's role in the Iranian Revolution, rooted in faith, patience, and quiet dedication, was an important step in the transformation of his country.
Let us now turn our attention to Ali Khamenei's post-revolution political rise, a period when his long years of quiet opposition, religious commitment, and organizational work positioned him as one of the key figures in the newly established Islamic Republic of Iran. The revolution succeeded in February 1979 with the collapse of the Shah's regime and the triumphant return of Ayatollah Khamenei. Khamenei, having remained in Iran through the final months of protests and upheaval, was ready to contribute to the new order. In the immediate aftermath, Khamenei was appointed to the Islamic Revolutionary Council, a small, secretive 13-member body formed to oversee the transition from the old government to the Islamic Republic. This council managed critical tasks, dissolving the remnants of the monarchy's institutions, appointing interim officials, and ensuring the revolution's goals were implemented. Khamenei's inclusion reflected the trust he had earned through years of consistent support for Khomeini and his vision of Islamic governance. Khamenei also played an important role in establishing the Islamic Republican Party, which became the dominant political organization in the early years of the Republic. The party helped unify revolutionary forces, organize elections, and shape the new political structure. He contributed to efforts to reorganize the military and security forces, removing officers loyal to the Shah and replacing them with those committed to the Islamic system. These steps were essential in the chaotic months after the revolution, as the new government faced internal challenges and the beginning of the Iran-Iraq War in September 1980. In the summer of 1981, Khamenei's rise took a dramatic turn. On June 27th, he survived the bombing at Abu Zar Mosque in Tehran, an attack by the Furqan group that left his right arm paralyzed and his voice permanently strained. Despite these injuries, he continued his work. Within months, he was elected president of Iran in October 1981, following the impeachment of the first president and the assassination of the second. He served 2 terms as president from 1981 to 1989 during the most difficult years of the Iran-Iraq War. As president, Khamenei visited the front lines, supported the war effort, and helped manage domestic affairs amid wartime hardships. He advocated for peace negotiations at times, though the war continued until 1988.
Throughout this period, Khamenei remained modest in his personal life. He lived simply with his family, avoiding luxury even as his responsibilities grew. His wife and children supported him quietly, maintaining the values of faith and humility that had always guided him. When Ayatollah Khamenei passed away on June 3, 1989, the question of succession arose. The Assembly of Experts, the body responsible for choosing the supreme leader, met quickly. Khamenei was selected as the second supreme leader on June 4, 1989, at the age of 50. Though he had not completed the highest levels of traditional clerical training, and some questioned his religious qualifications, he was chosen as a consensus figure, trusted for his loyalty to the revolution, administrative experience, and steady character. This marked the beginning of his long tenure as supreme leader, a role he has held now for more than 35 years. His rise from a modest cleric in Mashhad to the highest authority in Iran was built on years of dedication, sacrifice, and quiet service to the revolutionary cause. In the next sections, we will explore how Khamenei shaped the Islamic Republic as supreme leader, from expanding the Revolutionary Guard to guiding Iran's regional policies. Stay with us. Ali Khamenei's post-revolution political rise, from council member to president to supreme leader, was a journey of responsibility and steadfast commitment.
Let us now turn our attention to Ali Khamenei's presidency during the Iran-Iraq War, a challenging period when he served as the third president of the Islamic Republic from October 1981 to August 1989. Khamenei was elected in October 1981, just months after surviving the assassination attempt at Abu Zar Mosque. His right arm remained paralyzed, and his voice stayed soft and strained, yet these physical limitations did not hinder his duties. The election came after the impeachment of the first president and the assassination of the second, reflecting the unstable early years of the Republic. The overriding issue throughout his presidency was the Iran-Iraq War, which began in September 1980 when Iraq invaded Iran. Saddam Hussein hoped for a quick victory, fearing the revolution might spread to his country. Instead, Iran repelled the initial attack, and the war became a long, bitter conflict fought mostly on Iraqi soil after 1981. It lasted nearly 8 years, causing immense suffering. Estimates suggest over 1 million deaths on both sides, widespread destruction, and the use of chemical weapons. As president, Khamenei visited the front lines multiple times, meeting soldiers, offering moral support, and inspecting conditions. These visits were not ceremonial. They showed solidarity with the troops and helped maintain public morale during hardship. He worked closely with Ayatollah Khamenei and other leaders on war strategy, resource allocation, and domestic stability. The war strained Iran's economy. Oil exports were disrupted, sanctions tightened, and rationing became necessary. Khamenei helped manage internal affairs, including food distribution, reconstruction efforts, and support for war-affected families. In 1982, Saddam Hussein offered peace terms, but Iran's leadership, including Khamenei, favored continuing the fight to secure better guarantees and punish aggression. Khamenei was among those who supported negotiations at various points, showing a pragmatic side amid the war's demands. He won re-election in 1985 with a strong majority, reflecting public trust in his steady leadership during crisis. Throughout the presidency, Khamenei emphasized unity, faith, and sacrifice. He spoke often about the importance of self-reliance, resisting foreign pressure,
and defending Islamic values. His personal life remained modest. He lived simply with his family in Tehran, avoiding luxury even as his responsibilities grew. His wife and children provided quiet support, maintaining the values of humility and devotion that had guided him since childhood. The war ended with a ceasefire in August 1988, after years of attrition. Iran accepted the terms under difficult conditions, but the experience strengthened national resolve and reshaped the republic's institutions. Khamenei's presidency during this time helped stabilize the government amid enormous challenges. When Ayatollah Khamenei passed away in June 1989, Khamenei's wartime leadership and loyalty positioned him as a natural choice for succession. In the next sections, we will explore how he was selected as supreme leader and the early years of his tenure. Please stay with us. Ali Khamenei's presidency during the Iran-Iraq War, a time of immense difficulty and steadfast service, was a defining chapter in his rise and in Iran's modern history.
Let us now turn our attention to Ali Khamenei's succession as supreme leader, a pivotal moment in June 1989 when he was chosen to lead the Islamic Republic following the passing of Ayatollah Khamenei. By the late 1980s, Khamenei's health had been declining for several years. He suffered a heart attack in 1986, and discussions about succession had quietly begun among senior clerics and the Assembly of Experts, the body responsible for selecting and supervising the supreme leader. Khamenei's death on June 3, 1989, at the age of 89 or 90, created a moment of uncertainty. He had been the charismatic founder of the Islamic Republic and the first supreme leader, holding unmatched religious and political authority. No clear successor had been publicly named, though rumors circulated about possible candidates. The Assembly of Experts, a group of 83 senior clerics elected by the people, convened the very next day to decide the matter. The assembly faced a difficult choice. Khamenei's role combined supreme religious marja status with political leadership under the principle of Welayat-e-Faqih, guardianship of the Islamic jurist. Few figures carried the same weight in both areas. Several names were considered, but none emerged as an obvious fit. Khamenei, then 50 years old and serving as president, was not initially seen as the frontrunner. He had not completed the highest levels of traditional clerical training, and some viewed him as more of an administrator than a grand religious authority. Yet Khamenei had earned deep trust through years of loyalty to Khamenei, his steady leadership as president during the Iran-Iraq War, his survival of the 1981 assassination attempt, and his consistent support for revolutionary principles. Some accounts suggest Khomeini had privately indicated Khamenei as a suitable successor in his final months, though this was never officially confirmed. After deliberation, the Assembly of Experts voted on June 4, 1989. Khamenei was elected supreme leader by a strong majority. The announcement was made quickly to maintain stability and unity. He was the youngest supreme leader in Shia history at the time of selection, and his appointment surprised many observers both inside and outside Iran. Upon taking office, Khamenei emphasized continuity with Khomeini's vision while adapting to new realities. He focused on preserving the revolution's ideals: Islamic governance, independence from foreign influence, social justice, and support for the oppressed. His early speeches stressed humility, service to the people, and reliance on faith amid challenges.
The succession occurred during a time of regional change. The Iran-Iraq War had ended in 1988 with a ceasefire. The Soviet Union was weakening, leading to independence for Central Asian states. The First Gulf War would soon follow in 1990 to 1991. Khamenei guided Iran through these shifts, strengthening internal institutions like the Revolutionary Guard and maintaining the republic's independence. His personal life remained modest. He continued living simply with his family, avoiding luxury and keeping private matters out of the public eye. This humility helped reinforce his image as a leader dedicated to service rather than power. Khamenei's succession marked the beginning of his long tenure, now more than 35 years, as supreme leader. It was a transition built on trust, experience, and commitment to the Islamic Republic's founding principles. In the next sections, we will explore how he shaped Iran's institutions, regional policies, and domestic life in the years that followed. Please stay with us. Ali Khamenei's selection as supreme leader, a moment of careful consensus and quiet resolve, set the course for Iran's future under his guidance.
Let us now turn our attention to the expansion of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, known as the IRGC or Sepah, under Ali Khamenei's leadership as supreme leader, a process that significantly shaped Iran's security, politics, and regional influence from 1989 onward. The IRGC was originally established by Ayatollah Khamenei in May 1979, shortly after the revolution, as a parallel military force to protect the Islamic Republic from internal and external threats. While the regular Iranian army, Artesh, handled conventional defense, the Guard was created to safeguard the revolution's ideological goals, counter counter-revolutionary forces, and ensure loyalty to the new Islamic system. When Khamenei became supreme leader in June 1989, the IRGC was already an important institution, having played a major role during the Iran-Iraq War. However, under his tenure, the Guard grew in size, capability, and influence far beyond its original scope. Khamenei placed great emphasis on its loyalty and effectiveness, personally overseeing key appointments and ensuring its commanders aligned with the revolution's principles. The IRGC expanded rapidly in the 1990s and 2000s. Membership grew from tens of thousands to over 125,000 active personnel by the 2010s, with additional reserves and affiliated groups. It developed its own ground forces, Navy, Air Force, and intelligence branch, the Intelligence Organization, making it a comprehensive military parallel to the regular army. The Quds Force, its external operations arm, became particularly prominent, supporting allied groups in Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen. Khamenei micromanaged the Guard's leadership. He appointed commanders personally, often from among trusted veterans of the revolution and war. This ensured the IRGC remained fiercely loyal to him and the Supreme Leader's office rather than to elected presidents or parliament. Over time, the Guard's role extended beyond defense. It took on significant economic activities through affiliated companies in construction, oil, telecommunications, and infrastructure projects. This economic power helped it become a major force in Iran's domestic economy and provided resources independent of the regular budget. The IRGC also grew as an instrument of internal security and ideological enforcement.
It helped maintain stability during periods of unrest, supported Basij militias in community and moral guidance roles, and worked to counter perceived threats to the revolution's values. Khamenei viewed the Guard as a bulwark against both foreign intervention and internal liberalization that might dilute Islamic governance. Regionally, the IRGC expanded Iran's influence through proxy networks. Under Khamenei's guidance, it strengthened ties with Hezbollah in Lebanon, supported Palestinian groups like Hamas, aided Shia militias in Iraq, and backed the Houthis in Yemen. These relationships created a resistance axis that extended Iran's reach and deterred adversaries without direct large-scale war. The expansion was not without controversy. Critics inside and outside Iran pointed to the Guard's growing economic dominance, political influence, and role in suppressing dissent. Yet for Khamenei and his supporters, the IRGC's growth was essential to protect the revolution's achievements against sanctions, isolation, and external pressure. By the 2000s and 2010s, the IRGC had become one of the most powerful institutions in Iran, deeply intertwined with the state and directly answerable to the supreme leader. This structure helped maintain continuity and stability under Khamenei's long leadership. In the next sections, we will explore how Khamenei used the Guard and other tools to shape Iran's regional policies and domestic governance. Please stay with us. The expansion of the Revolutionary Guard under Ali Khamenei, a key pillar of his leadership in Iran's modern path.
Let us now turn our attention to Ali Khamenei's support for regional proxies, a key element of Iran's foreign policy and defensive strategy under his leadership as supreme leader since 1989. From the early 1990s onward, Khamenei oversaw the steady development of alliances with non-state groups across the Middle East, organizations that shared Iran's opposition to certain regional powers and Western influence. These relationships were built on shared ideological goals, mutual security interests, and a belief in resisting external domination. The most prominent proxy has been Hezbollah in Lebanon. Formed in 1982 during Israel's invasion of Lebanon and inspired by the Iranian Revolution, Hezbollah quickly developed close ties with Iran. Under Khamenei, Iran provided funding, training, weapons, and strategic guidance through the Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force. Hezbollah grew into a powerful political and military force in Lebanon, participating in elections while maintaining a strong resistance role against Israel. The 2006 Lebanon War, where Hezbollah fought Israeli forces for over a month, showcased its capabilities strengthened by Iranian support. Khamenei consistently endorsed Hezbollah as a legitimate defender of Lebanese sovereignty and a model of resistance. Iran also extended support to Palestinian groups, particularly Hamas in Gaza. Though Hamas is Sunni rather than Shia, Khamenei viewed it as a partner in the broader struggle against Israeli occupation. Funding, training, and weapons flowed through various channels, helping Hamas build its military wing and political influence. This support continued through multiple conflicts with Israel in the 2000s and 2010s, with Iran framing it as backing the Palestinian cause and resistance to Zionism. In Iraq, after the 2003 U.S. invasion and fall of Saddam Hussein, Khamenei encouraged ties with Shia militias and political groups. The Popular Mobilization Forces, or PMF, and other Shia factions received training, weapons, and coordination from the IRGC.
These groups played a major role in fighting ISIS from 2014 onward and became influential in Iraqi politics. Khamenei saw this as a way to protect Shia communities and counter U.S. presence in the region. The Houthis in Yemen became another important ally in the 2010s. After the Yemen civil war intensified in 2014, Iran provided material support, training, and strategic advice to the Houthi movement. This helped the Houthis gain control of much of northern Yemen, including the capital Sana'a. The relationship was framed as solidarity with an oppressed Shia-aligned group against Saudi-led intervention. Khamenei's strategy with these proxies was defensive and pragmatic. Iran faced heavy sanctions, military threats, and isolation after the revolution. Supporting allied groups allowed Iran to project power indirectly, deter attacks, and maintain influence without direct large-scale wars. Khamenei often described these relationships as part of a resistance axis standing against injustice and foreign aggression. This policy was not without costs. It drew criticism from Western governments, Sunni Arab states, and some inside Iran who argued it diverted resources from domestic needs. Yet, for Khamenei and his supporters, the proxies were essential to Iran's security and the revolution's survival. In the next sections, we will explore how Khamenei balanced these regional efforts with domestic governance and economic challenges. Please stay with us. Ali Khamenei's support for regional proxies, a careful strategy of alliances and resistance, became a defining feature of Iran's role in the Middle East under his leadership.
Let us now turn our attention to the development of Iran's nuclear program under Ali Khamenei's leadership as supreme leader, a long-standing effort that has shaped Iran's scientific ambitions, international relations, and domestic policy since the 1990s. The program itself began long before the 1979 revolution. In the 1950s and 60s, under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran launched a peaceful nuclear energy initiative with U.S. assistance as part of the Atoms for Peace program. The Shah signed agreements with the United States and other Western countries to build nuclear power plants, received enriched uranium fuel, and trained scientists abroad. The Tehran Research Reactor was established in 1967 with American help, and plans were made for up to 20 nuclear power reactors to meet growing energy needs. After the revolution, the program slowed dramatically. Many Western partners withdrew cooperation due to the new government's stance and the hostage crisis. Progress was limited in the 1980s amid the Iran-Iraq War and economic isolation. However, the Islamic Republic maintained that nuclear technology was a national right for peaceful purposes, energy production, medical isotopes, and scientific research. Under Khamenei's leadership from 1989 onward, the program gained renewed momentum. In the early 1990s, Iran signed agreements with China and Russia for technical assistance. Russia agreed to complete the Boshra nuclear power plant, originally started under the Shah. Construction resumed, and the first reactor became operational in 2011. Iran also developed domestic capabilities, including uranium mining, conversion, and enrichment facilities at sites like Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan. Khamenei has consistently stated that Iran's nuclear program was for civilian use only, to generate electricity and support medical and agricultural research. He issued a fatwa, religious ruling, declaring nuclear weapons forbidden in Islam, emphasizing peaceful intentions. Yet concerns grew internationally. Enrichment activities, which can produce fuel for reactors or, at higher levels, material for weapons, led to suspicions. The International Atomic Agency began inspections, and reports highlighted undeclared activities in the early 2000s. The program became a major point of tension with Western countries and Israel. Sanctions were imposed by the United Nations, United States, and European Union, targeting Iran's economy and oil trade. Khamenei viewed these sanctions as unjust attempts to deny Iran its scientific rights. He encouraged domestic scientists to advance the program indigenously, framing it as a matter of national pride and self-sufficiency. Iran installed thousands of centrifuges for uranium enrichment and developed advanced models, achieving higher enrichment levels over time. Negotiations led to the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, where Iran agreed to limit enrichment and allow inspections in exchange for sanctions relief. Khamenei supported the talks, but insisted on protecting Iran's rights. The agreement brought temporary relief, but in 2018, the United States withdrew, reimposing sanctions. Iran responded by gradually reducing its commitments while maintaining that the program remained peaceful. Khamenei has promoted nuclear technology as part of broader scientific progress. He has encouraged education in physics, engineering, and related fields, viewing self-reliance in science as essential for Iran's future amid external pressures. The nuclear program remains a central issue in Iran's international relations, domestic economy, and national identity under Khamenei's leadership. In the next sections, we will explore how Khamenei balanced these external challenges with domestic governance and economic realities. Please stay with us. The development of Iran's nuclear program under Ali Khamenei, a pursuit of scientific advancement and national rights, has been a defining feature of his era. Let us now turn our attention to economic growth and the many challenges Iran has faced under Ali Khamenei's leadership as supreme leader since 1989. When Khamenei took office, Iran was recovering from the 8-year Iran-Iraq war. Infrastructure was damaged, oil revenues had been disrupted, and the population was growing rapidly. The economy needed rebuilding, and Khamenei emphasized self-sufficiency, scientific progress, and reducing dependence on foreign powers. The 1990s brought a period of notable growth. After the war ended in '88, reconstruction began in earnest. Oil production and exports recovered, and revenues were used to rebuild roads, factories, schools, and hospitals. Khamenei supported policies of privatization, encouraging private enterprise alongside state-led projects. GDP growth reached double digits in some years during the early 1990s, driven by post-war recovery and rising oil prices. Literacy rates improved, universities expanded, and life expectancy increased as healthcare improved. The 2000s saw further progress. High oil prices, especially during China's economic boom, brought substantial revenues. Annual GDP growth averaged 5 to 7% for much of the decade. Infrastructure projects multiplied: new highways, dams, power plants, and housing developments. Iran invested in domestic industries, including petrochemicals, steel, and automobiles. The nuclear program, pursued for civilian energy, also boosted scientific education and research. Khamenei promoted a resistance economy, focusing on domestic production, reducing imports, and building self-reliance amid sanctions. Yet challenges were persistent and severe.
International sanctions, first imposed in the 80s and intensified over the nuclear program, restricted trade, banking, and technology access. Oil exports, Iran's main revenue source, were limited, causing budget deficits and inflation. The 2010s brought sharper difficulties. After the U.S. withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal in 2018, sanctions returned with greater force. Currency value fell sharply, inflation rose, and unemployment, especially among youth, remained high. Official figures placed unemployment around 10%, but many economists estimated it higher when including underemployment. GDP per capita lagged behind Iran's potential, placing it in the middle range globally, despite vast oil and gas reserves. Sanctions blocked foreign investment, limited access to modern technology, and increased costs of imports. Corruption and mismanagement in some sectors added to the strain. Khamenei repeatedly called for economic resistance, supporting local industries, reducing reliance on oil, and encouraging innovation. He promoted knowledge-based companies and startups in technology and science. The economy showed resilience in places. Iran maintained domestic production of many goods, developed advanced industries like drones and missiles, and expanded trade with non-Western partners like China and Russia. Yet ordinary people felt the pressure. Rising prices, limited job opportunities, and restrictions on travel and goods affected daily life, especially for younger generations. Khamenei has often spoken of the economy as a battlefield, requiring patience, unity, and hard work to overcome external pressures. He encouraged scientific and educational progress as the path to long-term strength. In the next sections, we will explore how these economic realities intersected with political reforms, protests, and Khamenei's approach to governance. Please stay with us. Iran's economic growth and challenges under Ali Khamenei, a story of achievement amid great adversity, reflect the broader journey of the Islamic Republic.
Let us now turn our attention to political reforms and the backlash that followed under Ali Khamenei's leadership as supreme leader, a period that revealed both hopes for openness and the limits of change within the Islamic Republic. When Khamenei became supreme leader in 1989, Iran was emerging from the Iran-Iraq War. The country needed reconstruction, economic recovery, and political stability. The system combined elements of theocracy and limited democracy. The supreme leader held ultimate authority, while elected presidents and parliament handled day-to-day governance, though candidates were vetted by the Guardian Council. The 1990s brought signs of reform. In 1997, Mohammad Khatami was elected president in a landslide. Khatami campaigned on dialogue, civil society, rule of law, and greater cultural openness. His victory reflected widespread desire for change after years of war and hardship. During his two terms, 1997 to 2005, known as the Reform Era, some restrictions eased. Press freedom increased temporarily. Satellite dishes became more common, and women gained greater visibility in public life. Khatami promoted dialogue with the West and a dialogue of civilizations, winning international praise. Khamenei allowed Khatami's election and did not block his agenda outright. He permitted debates on reform within certain boundaries, showing flexibility. Yet he also emphasized that core principles of the revolution, Islamic governance, independence, and resistance to foreign influence, must remain intact. The Guardian Council, under his oversight, disqualified many reformist candidates in later elections,
limiting the pace of change. The reform era faced growing backlash. Hardline conservatives, including parts of the Revolutionary Guard and judiciary, viewed liberalization as a threat to the revolution's values. In 1999, student protests erupted in Tehran after a reformist newspaper was closed. Clashes with security forces led to injuries and arrests, the largest demonstrations since 1979. Khamenei supported restoring order, and the protests were contained. By 2004 to 2005, the reform movement lost momentum. Many candidates were barred from elections, and Khatami's term ended. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad won the presidency in 2005 on a platform of social justice and resistance to Western pressure. His tenure brought a conservative shift, tighter social controls, renewed emphasis on revolutionary ideals, and confrontation with the West over the nuclear program. The most significant backlash came after the 2009 presidential election. Ahmadinejad was declared the winner amid widespread claims of irregularities. Millions protested in the Green Movement, the largest unrest since the revolution. Demonstrators demanded a recount and greater freedoms. Khamenei supported the official result, calling protests unlawful. Security forces, including the Revolutionary Guard and Basij, restored order through arrests and restrictions. The internet was limited, universities closed temporarily, and rallies banned. The movement was suppressed, marking a turn toward stronger central control. Khamenei's approach balanced stability with caution. He allowed some debate and elections, but drew firm lines against changes that might weaken the Islamic framework or invite foreign influence. The morality police, Gasht-e-Ershad, expanded in the 2000s to enforce dress codes and social norms, reporting directly to him. These measures aimed to preserve revolutionary values amid external pressures and internal calls for liberalization. The backlash against reforms highlighted deep divisions between those seeking openness and those prioritizing ideological purity. Khamenei consistently prioritized the latter, viewing it as essential to the republic's survival. In the next sections, we will explore how these political dynamics influenced Iran's domestic life, protests, and Khamenei's long-term governance. Please stay with us. The era of political reforms and backlash under Ali Khamenei, a time of hope, tension, and consolidation, revealed the challenges of balancing change with continuity in the Islamic Republic.